Okay, great. So we'll make a start. Welcome everyone. Come and have a seat on your mats. Today we've got a deep stretch session planned. For those of you who are new, Thursday is just more of a nice, slow, deep stretch. Not mainly floor work. We're not going to do too much standing up or anything like that. So it's just a nice breathing and stretching. Perfect. So we'll begin today by lying on our backs and doing some tension release. Because the more relaxed we are to begin with, the easier the stretches are as we go throughout. Good. So lying on your back, feet apart, palms facing the ceiling. And just taking some nice deep breaths. Nice deep inhales through the nose. And full exhales. And then lift your right leg slightly off the mat. Flex the foot, tense all the muscles in the leg. And release. Lift the left leg off the mat a few inches. Flex the foot, tense all the muscles. And release. Lift your hips and glutes off the mat, tense your glutes. And release. And push your lower back into the mat, tense your abs. And release. And squeeze your shoulder blades together. Tense the upper back muscles. And release. Pull your shoulders up towards your ears. Squeeze your shoulders. And release. Lift both arms slightly off the mat. Make fists with your hands. And then stretch all the fingers out long. Stretch through the hands, through the arms. And release your arms back to your sides. And slowly roll your head to the right. And to the left. And back to center. And then just pull your chin into your chest, stretching through the back of the neck. And release everything down. Nice deep breaths. And then on an inhale, stretch your arms overhead. Stretch through your body from your fingertips to your toes. And exhale, release. And again, inhale, stretch from the fingertips to the toes. And release. And one more time, inhale and stretch. And then exhale, bring your right knee into your chest. Grab your knee with your hands, bring your leg into your chest and slightly to the right. And breathe deeply here. Good. And on the next inhale, stretch arms and legs long again. And then exhale, left knee comes into the chest. Pull it into the chest, slightly to the left. Breathe deeply. And on the next inhale, stretch long again, arms overhead. And exhale, both knees come into the chest, bringing the forehead to the knees. Breathe in here. And stretch long again. Inhale. And exhale, release. Good. Then rolling onto your right side. And then just pushing up into a seated position, cross-legged position. Good. We'll just do some shoulders and neck release. So bringing the arms out to the sides. Good. Hands together, interlock the fingers, invert. And then pulling the hands up over the head, stretching through the spine. And then chin down to the chest. And chin up, look up at the hands. And then release the hands, bringing the hands behind the back, interlocking the fingers again, rolling the shoulders back, pulling the hands away from the body. And then chin down again. Chin up, look up. And release. And then bringing the fingertips to the shoulders. And then bringing the elbows to touch in front. And then rolling the shoulders back, trying to get the wrist to touch behind the head. And then bringing it round in a circle. So elbows at the front, wrists behind the head. Just breathing into it. Elbows, wrists. Good. And release. Good. And then coming into tabletop position. And we want wrists underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Good. And we'll do puppy dog pose. So bringing the hands forward, keeping the knees underneath the hips. We're just going to melt our chest down to the mat, placing our forehead onto the mat, letting the chest melt down. You should feel a nice stretch through the shoulders and the side body. Breathe in here. Good, and then crawling your hands back, walking yourself back up to tabletop. And then taking a big inhale here. Then exhaling and dropping your right forearm to the mat, keeping the left arm straight. Look up and over your left shoulder at the ceiling. Breathe here. Good. And then on the next inhale, coming back to tabletop position. And exhale, bringing the left forearm to the mat, keeping the right arm straight. Look up and over the right shoulder at the ceiling. Breathing deeply, twisting through the spine. Inhaling and coming back to tabletop. Nice big exhale here, sigh out. And then inhale, arch your back and look up at the ceiling. And exhale, rounding through the spine, looking between the legs, tucking the chin. Inhale, arch your back, look up at the ceiling. Exhale, round the spine, look between the legs, tuck the chin. Inhale, arch up, look up at the ceiling. Exhale, round the spine, look between the legs. Inhale, arch your back, look up at the ceiling. Exhale, round the spine, look between the legs. And inhale back to tabletop. Good. Exhaling. And then on an inhale, we're going to lift our right arm up to the sky. And exhale, threading that arm underneath the left arm, bringing the right ear to the mat. And then bringing the left arm out long over the head, onto the mat above your head. Breathing here. Good. Inhale back to tabletop. Lifting the left arm up to the sky. And exhale, threading that left arm underneath the right. Bring the left ear to the mat. Right arm up over your head. And look under your armpit at the ceiling. Breathing here. And inhale, coming back to tabletop. Good. And then we're going to lower down to the belly. And bring the hands in front of the forehead, elbows out to the sides. And then on an inhale, we're going to bring our elbows in, come up onto our forearms into Sphinx pose. Feel like you're pulling the forearms back to engage the lower back. And breathing deeply, keeping the legs engaged. And keeping the shoulders relaxed and down. Good, and then lowering back down on an exhale, bringing the forehead to the mat. And then inhale again, bringing the elbows in, coming up onto the forearms, Sphinx pose. Breathing deeply. And then you can stay here. If you want to go deeper, you can start to push up and straighten your arms. Or you can stay on your forearms if that's deep enough for the lower back. Breathing deeply wherever you are. And the farther you walk your hands away, the less extreme it is on your lower back. Just play around and find something that feels good. And then on an exhale, lowering down nice and slowly to the belly again. Good. And then bringing your arms out to the side, cactus arms, right angles. And then we're going to bring our right ear to the mat. Lift onto our left fingertips. And then we're going to come onto our right hip and place our foot behind our right leg. So this should feel like a stretch in the right shoulder, chest. So just play around and find something till you feel that chest and shoulder releasing. Nice deep stretch. Good. And then coming back onto the belly. Arms at right angles again, elbows at right angles. Then we'll do the other side, so bringing the left ear to the mat, coming onto the right fingertips, and bringing the right foot to touch the mat behind the left leg, sinking into the left chest and shoulder. Good. And then coming back onto the belly. And just bringing the hands next to the shoulders. And then we're going to push up and back into downward facing dog. Pedaling out the feet here, stretching the calves. And then we're going to raise our right leg up to the sky. And then we're going to bring the right foot to the outside of the right hand. Good. And then drop that left knee and untuck the left toes. Then you might want to come onto your fingertips here and just help yourself sink into the left hip flexor. Try and hug the right knee into the right elbow. And keep your back nice and straight. Breathing deeply here. And if you want to go deeper, you can lower onto the forearms and hang the head. Or you can keep up on the fingertips. Just whatever feels like a nice buzz in the hip flexor for you. And just focusing on the breath. Good. And then tucking the left toes under, lifting that left knee back up, engaging the leg. And then pushing back into downward dog again, pedaling out the feet again here. Stretching through the calves. And then inhaling and raising the left leg to the sky. And exhale, bringing the left foot to the outside of the left hand. Bringing the right knee to the mat, untucking the right toes. Just adjusting yourself, finding a good position for the right hip flexor, maybe coming onto your fingertips. And hugging that left knee into your left elbow. And breathe deeply here, come onto your forearms if you want a deeper stretch. If you're on your fingertips, keep your back nice and straight. Don't need to round at the spine. And just sink into the stretch. And then tucking the right toes, engaging the right leg, bringing the knee off the mat. And then pushing back into downward dog again, pedaling out those legs. Pressing the heels towards the mat. Breathing through the nose. And then dropping down to your knees. Good. So next I'll demonstrate what we're going to do first. So we're going to come up onto the toes and sit back on the heels. We're going to interlock the hands behind the back. And then we're going to move from the right side and then left side stretching through. We'll go forward. And then we're going to come back. So I just wanted to demonstrate this to you first. So we're going to drop our knuckles onto the ground and lean back. If that's too much for you, you can separate your hands and just come back onto the fingertips and release your head that way. Good. Okay, so coming onto the toes. And sitting back on the heels, nice stretch through the toes. Interlocking the hands behind the back, rolling the shoulders back. Good. Inhaling. And then exhale, we're gonna bend to the right side. Release the head, pulling the arms away from the body. Good, breathing here. And then inhale, come up. And exhale, bending to the other side, releasing the neck. Breathing here. And inhale, coming back up. And exhale, bending forward, bringing the forehead to the mat. Arms come over the head. Breathing here. And inhale, coming back up to sit on your heels. Exhale. And then inhale, we're gonna just slowly drop the knuckles back onto the mat or both hands and release the head. Breathe here. Then release onto one hand and slowly come back up. Protecting the back, good. Wonderful. And then give the toes a break as well. Good. So now we're going to bring our legs out in front of us. Then we're going to bend the right leg, bringing the heel towards the bum. You can spin your calf muscle out here. And we're going to do half saddle. So this should be a nice quad stretch. So you can start to lean back maybe onto your forearms until you feel a stretch in the quad and the hip flexor. You might want to recline all the way back onto your back. Whatever feels good, don't push it too much. And again, if this feels good, you might want to bend the left leg and bring it into the chest for an even deeper stretch. Good. Wherever you are, just settle in, focusing in on the breath. Good. And releasing the legs, slowly coming back up into your forearms, sit back up. Good. And releasing the leg back out straight in front of you, giving the quads a little massage. And then switching sides. So bending the left leg, left heel towards your glute, spinning out the calf muscle if you need to. And then again, starting to walk the hands back, maybe onto the forearms, or recline back completely. And again, if you need a deeper stretch here, you can bend the other leg into your chest and hold it with your hands. Breathing deeply wherever you are. Maybe closing down the eyes as well. Good. And releasing the leg if you've got it into your chest. And slowly walking yourself back up. Bringing your leg back out in front of you. Good. Now we're going to do bound angle. So bringing the soles of the feet together to touch. Good. Holding onto the feet. And then just moving from side to side. Gently rocking to left and right. Just starting to loosen off the hips a little. Good, and coming back to center. And then back nice and straight. Inhaling here. And then exhale, start to tilt forward from the hips, back still nice and straight until you can't go forward anymore. And then you can begin to round the back and release the head towards the feet. You might want to lengthen the spine on the inhales and then release down on the exhales. Just feeling a nice stretch in the inner thighs and the hips, and also the lower back too. Keeping the head released. And then bringing your hands out in front of you and slowly walking them over to the right. Anchoring that left hip down, releasing the head and feeling that stretch through the left side of the spine. Breathing deeply. And then walking the hands back to center. And then over to the other side. Feeling a nice stretch through the side of the spine, anchoring that right hip down, releasing the head, breathing deeply. And walking your hands back to center. And then slowly rolling up through the spine, one vertebrae at a time, until you're sitting up nice and straight again. Good. And then you can bring the knees together and release the legs. Good. Maybe just swinging the feet back and forth for a while, rolling the knees out. Good. And we're going to come into deer pose. So bending your right leg again so that your shin is parallel with the top end of your mat. And bringing your left hip out. And you want your left calf to be in line with the side of the mat. Good. And then squaring the hips. And if this is too much for your back leg, you can bring your heel in closer to your bum. Wherever you are, you might want to start to walk your hands forward over the front leg. Folding over, maybe coming onto the forearms. Feeling that nice stretch in the right hip. And maybe folding down completely. And breathing nice and deeply. Good, everyone. And walking the hands back up. And taking a big inhale. And then twisting to the right, bringing the right hand behind you, left hand to the right knee and looking over your right shoulder, twisting briefly. Exhale. And then inhaling, coming back to center. And then switching legs. Good. So left shin comes parallel to the top of the mat. Right thigh is again parallel to the top of the mat. Right calf parallel to the side of the mat. Squaring the hips, back nice and straight. Inhale, you can stay here, you can exhale. Come onto the forearms, fold over the front leg, release the head. Nice deep stretch in the left hip. Good. And coming back onto the hands, walking back up. And then inhaling and exhaling, twisting to the left. Right hand comes to left knee, left fingertips behind and looking over the left shoulder. Breathing into it. Twisting through the spine. And then come back to center on an inhale. And exhale, releasing the legs. Good. Perfect. And then coming back, tucking the toes under again and sitting onto the heels. Back nice and straight. We're going to grab onto our heels with our hands. Push the chest up. Inhale. And then exhale, we're going to bend forward and put the crown of our head, not the forehead, the crown of our head onto the mat. And we're going to hold onto the arches of the feet and the heels and lift our bum and hips up, stretching through the shoulders and upper back. Breathing nice and deeply here. And then slowly rolling up, back to sitting on your heels. Good. And just sitting back. Coming onto your back, into a semi-supine position, knees pointing at the ceiling, feet flat on the mat, palms by your sides. And we're going to do bridge. So on an inhale, we're going to lift our hips and peel our spine off the mat, one vertebrae at a time. Looking towards the navel at the top, pushing the hips up. And then exhaling and rolling back down slowly. And we'll do this a couple more times. So inhale, lifting the hips, rolling up through the spine, looking towards the belly button. And exhale, rolling back down one vertebrae at a time. And again, inhale, roll up through the spine. And this time, interlock your hands underneath, tuck your shoulders under, pushing the hips up further, breathing here. And then exhale, release your hands and shoulders and roll back down one vertebrae at a time. Good. And then you're going to windscreen wiper the knees, drop them to the sides, nice and slowly breathing into it. And then bringing the knees into the chest, holding onto your knees, one hand on each knee. And then we're going to open the hips, circling the knees in opposite directions. Good, and then holding onto the knees again. And this time just rocking back and forth, massaging your back on the mat. And then bringing your forehead in towards your knees, squeezing into a ball. Deep inhale. And exhale, release everything down into Shavasana. Feet out wide, palms facing the ceiling. Closing down the eyes here. And just coming back to that nice deep abdominal breathing. Feeling the belly expand on the inhale and fall on the exhale. And just giving your muscles permission to relax. From the bigger muscles, like the legs and the back, to the smaller muscles in your face, in your hands. Just feeling yourself melt into the mat. Releasing everything down. And then slowly rolling onto your right side. And staying in a fetal position just for a second. Keeping the eyes closed. And then pushing yourself up nice and slowly into a seated position. Good. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.